yes, I hope you are there. Sharon living from School Corridor. And yes, we took a break last week, but this week we're going to continue with the principal's job description. And you know what? We're not going to be on long, and we are just going to focus on what do we mean when we speak about the professional management and when we speak about leadership. If we say the principal's core function is to ensure that the school is professionally managed and that the principal is the main school leader, then we need to understand very clearly what we mean by that, okay? Because we throw around these words all the time, but I'm not sure when we talk about professional management of the school if we're all on the same page. And I thought, let us define professional management. You tell me what you understand by professional management in the chat. Hopefully you'll be there. And then you also need to tell me, what does professional management look like on the ground? In other words, what are the features of effective professional management by your principal? You see, otherwise we're just going to say that the principal must manage the school effectively, and we have pictures in our heads about what we regard as effective management, and the principal may have his or her picture in his or her head, and we may be seeing different things, but we all want to work together so that all the learners at our school can excel. Okay, so that is sort of the conversation today. What do we mean by professional management, and what do we mean if we say the principal must be an effective school leader? And then I want you to tell me, if you are a teacher, what are you expecting to see at the school, and how are you contributing to creating an environment for the principal to be a good leader? Okay, so it's not just about the principal, it's about how do we as teachers help the principal to be an effective leader. And if the principal is in charge of the professional management, then how do we as teachers help to create that environment or that climate? Okay, so that is on the table today. Hopefully we won't be too long, but I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of responses we will be getting from different people, right? Okay, let me just see if somebody's on. And yes, Arthur Preston is here. Hi, Arthur. I'm hoping that you'll be able to define professional management for us. But not in the academic sense only, okay? We can talk about that, but I want to know, because this is something I've been grappling with as a professional myself. If we say we need to manage our environment, say a school, for example, professionally, then what do we mean by that? And what does it look like on the ground? You know, what elements are visible to us? What do we see? What is the evidence that the school would be managed effectively? And what do we understand by professionalism? Okay, so that is sort of, it's very wide, but I thought it's sort of broad, rather broad. But I thought, let us first talk about that, because one of the things that I pick up with us, especially in education, you know, we've got all the jargon in the world. We like to talk about interfacing and going offline, and we must really just create an optimal conditions. But my big question is, do we know what we're talking about, and do we know what we want to see on the ground? So that is sort of where we're going today. Okay, we're just going to focus on what do we understand by professional management, and what do we understand by leadership, and what do we want to see on the ground. And then I'll throw in a few things that I picked up from the South African Standard for Principalship around professional management as well. Okay, so let's see if we can have a nice conversation. I don't know, my lighting is very bad here. Andre Lamprecht is here. I've got two principals on here, guys, and the two of the principals that I admire. So I want you to give us your take. If you are responsible for the professional management of the school, what does that mean? And how are you, how are you making your professional management processes visible to the teachers? How are you creating that environment or that culture, what can teachers see and how can they feel it and how does it impact the classroom? So it sounds big, but how do you translate that theory into practice at your school? Okay. Let me just see who else is here. I think hopefully tonight we won't be cut off, but let me just focus on what the South Africans Standards for Principals says about professional management. There are about 10 points, I think. The first point that the standards make is that you must set high expectations at your school. Now, again, what do we mean by high expectations? You know, we need to be able to transcribe that phrase, or we must be able to see evidence of it on the ground, because everybody, whoever you talk to, they say we must have high expectations. But what will I see if I come to your school? What do your teachers see when they come to your school? What do the children experience? How will the teachers activate those high expectations in the classroom? Okay, that's a very first point. So that is something I want us to tease out. Okay, what are your high expectations? Have you got a benchmark attached to it? Have you got a certain culture attached to that? Is there a behavior pattern that you're attaching to it? Is there a certain atmosphere that you're creating at the school? How will we know that you are setting high standards at your school? Okay, there are visible things that we can see. For example, the uniform. I think most schools' uniforms look exquisite. They're beautiful. The children look smart in it. So you can see that the uniform is high quality and the children look smart, right? So that's one visible element that we see. Now, I want to know, how will we know when we come to your school that you have high expectations? What will we see in the staff room? What will we see on the grounds? What will we see in the classrooms? How will those high expectations be visible to us? Okay, how do you make it real? And then, of course, we have Lamise, Latas Join, and Brian. Bryn, Jordan, Bryn, thanks so much. You're always online. It's so lovely. You're one of the people we must also get online. Bryn is one of my colleagues at the district, and she's always passionate about just following what is going on. So we're talking about, we're still talking about the principal's job description, but I want us to zoom in on the fact that the principal is responsible for the professional management of the school, right? And the principal is the leader at the school. The principal is the one that sets the tone. The principal is the one that sets or helps to establish the culture at the school. That is part of your legal responsibility as a principal. Now, my questions, or most of the questions that I'm asking tonight, is how do we see that at your school? What is the evidence that we will see that you are effectively managing your school? Okay? If a doctor operates, and I say a doctor's a professional, right? So what do we expect from a doctor, for example? We're expecting the doctor to have the expertise, the knowledge. We're expecting the doctor to be competent. We're expecting the doctor to have some experience of either performing that operation or that procedure. And so we know that the person has those skills and those abilities to perform whatever procedure the doctor has to perform. Now, the same with the principal. If a principal is the professional manager, it means, one, that the principal must be knowledgeable about education. And I think we spoke about that previously. The principal must have technical knowledge. The principal must have academic knowledge. And then the principal needs a set of skills and competencies to enable him or her to lead the school and to manage the school. Okay, so that's sort of my understanding of the professional part. And then the principal must use whatever basket of knowledge, skills, and competencies and personality traits that he or she has, use that to move the school so that the school is high performing. Okay. And let's see who Sharon Avril Timmers. Hi, Sharon. Thanks for joining us. We're just talking about the principal and those aspiring principals on the chat. Let us know, what do you want to do when you become a principal? What do you see currently at your school? What are the good practices of professional management at your school? Okay, and what are some of the areas that require some work, and how are you going to contribute to helping to transform whatever's happening at the school? You see, it's a two-way street. The principal is the accounting officer that we know, and the principal is the one who must ensure that the school is managed professionally. And the principal is supposed to give direction, strategic direction. The principal has to play that leading role. But the buck stops there. But in terms of working and trying to make the school a place where you can get all your learners to achieve, regardless of their background, then what are you doing as the principal at your school to ensure that you're creating that environment there, that context for excellence to just, to flourish at your school? And if you're a teacher, what are you doing to help the principal create that culture of excellence at the school? And how do you contribute to the professionalism at the school? Okay, so that is some of the stuff we're going to talk about. Hi, Melissa. Melissa Paulson, thanks for joining. So like I said, I just want to run through some of the points made in the standards for South African principles. The one is the high expectations that I was just talking about. And then another point is that the principal needs to demonstrate that disadvantage doesn't have to be a barrier. Now, that is quite important. That's what I'm just rephrasing. In other words, many of our children come into the classroom with barriers. Many of them are psychological, emotional, social, personal, mental, that come with so many barriers into the class. But how does the principal create a system or a culture at the school so that all the learners are able to achieve? How does the principal set those benchmarks? How does the principal set those targets? How does the principal create a sense of peace, a sense of comfort, a sense of energy? How does the principal regulate the environment so that teachers can operate professionally in that environment? And ultimately, if the teachers are operating professionally, then the learners are going to learn optimally. Back to the question, what do we understand by professionalism? Okay, I think we need to just unpack that term more, especially in terms of what do you want to see at the school. Because if you can define what you understand by professional management, then it helps to say, if this is our definition of professional management, then how are we going to translate that into practice? What do we expect to see on the ground, in the classrooms, right? What do we want to see at grassroots level? And then once you know what the picture is that you want to see on the ground, then everybody has that visible image of what is expected, and then everybody can align themselves to that goal or that objective or that vision that the school has. You see, otherwise we're just playing with words and we're not really making sense of it. Okay, tell me how you feel about that. Thanks for joining. Keith, lovely to have you here. Keith is all the way from Ladysmith. Thanks for coming online. And then, of course, Jonathan Jansen, Professor Jonathan Jansen is online. Guys, Jonathan, thanks for joining. Yes, Jonathan has got quite a few books on school leadership, and he's quite a valuable asset